But first, it is only the first week of the Victorian election campaign, but Premier Daniel Andrews has already faced a grilling from the press pack. Fresh allegations have surfaced around circumstances of a 2013 car crash with a teen cyclist. Now, Daniel Andrews' wife was driving the car, but now the victim, who was left with broken ribs, a punctured lung and internal bleeding, says he was never speeding.
The victim of that car crash, who was riding a bicycle and collided into the Andrews car, Ryan Meuleman, he's disputing the Premier's version of events, particularly the claims that he'd been riding at speed on his bicycle before that impact. Let's have a listen to what Ryan told News Corp.
Just riding from my dad's to mum's like every other weekend, and just looking left to right, slowing down and doing the right thing, wearing a helmet.
Now, that's a pretty big revelation, and you would think the Premier would come and strongly deny those allegations. But all we got from the most powerful man in the state was a refusal to answer question after question.
Do you have a wish to speak to him?
I've canvassed these matters in great detail, and I've got no further comment to make.
There've been no ongoing police investigations into that for some time. Have you never felt the need to check in on him, given the extent of the injuries that he suffered as a result?
As I just said, Rachel, I've gone into great detail on numerous occasions, and I've got nothing further to say about the matter.
What do you make of the timing of this decision, this story?
I can only repeat for you that I've gone to the facts of these matters in great detail, at length, on numerous occasions, and I've got nothing further to add.
Are you concerned about potential legal action?
Again, I've gone to great lengths on multiple occasions.
So if he was willing to sit down with you, would you sit down with him?
I've answered your question about 15 times, and the answer won't change. I have no further comment to make about this matter. I have no further comment to make about this matter.
Pretty pathetic stuff. Yes, the victim has engaged lawyers and this saga could get messy, but Daniel Andrews owes everyone a coherent public response. This story won't go away. It will follow him into the election. It goes to the heart of his credibility. Yes, he wasn't driving, but he has personally made claims which are now being disputed. He owes Victorians an explanation. Well, let's bring in tonight's panel, and I'm pleased to say that I'm joined this week by commentators Kosha Garda and Daisy Cousins. Kosha, why don't we start with you? Daniel Andrews, like I said in the editorial, he is the most powerful man in Victoria. It is a matter that goes to credibility in the middle of the election. Do you think the way he dealt with the media in that press conference was appropriate?
Good to be with you, Jack. He is very powerful, and I think because of that, there are three lenses through which to look at this whole story and the situation. One is the human and moral lens, the second is a legal lens, and the third is the political lens. So on a moral level, I have to say it was actually interesting to see the media launch, I think it was 15 or 16 questions reportedly at him, that he batted all of them off. And the reason is because on a human level, the particulars of this story are pretty jarring. When you see those images of the victim in this, who at the time was 15 years old, a minor, you can't unsee them. And so even the media couldn't walk away from that or look the other way. From a legal standpoint, I'm not familiar with the statute of limitations and all of that, but I do hope that the victim, exercises his rights within the full extent of the law around that, though we do have statutes of limitations for a reason. And then the last one is political. So even if his credibility will take a hit, and I think you're right, it just shows, though, that the structural advantages that the Labour Party has, and Dan Andrews in particular, in the Victorian electorate are so strong that he knows he just needs to sort of ride this out.
And Daisy, Daniel Andrews is probably better than most premiers at actually doing that. When there is some incident, some scandal, he's very good at fronting the media, press pack, and pretty much saying nothing. Do you think that will work in this case?
Well, sadly, it probably will, sort of for the reasons that Kosher mentioned. He's sort of so far ahead in Victoria, even though his government has just so many problems. And then, of course, there's their appalling COVID response. The problem is they just simply have no functional opposition in Victoria. The Liberal Party down there is just so inept. So unfortunately, he may actually be far enough ahead. And so this strategy he has of being just so extraordinarily pig-headed, but leaning into it so no one can sort of dispute him on it, tends to work for him. And I think he really does have to bat this stuff off because, again, as Kosher said, it is a deeply upsetting situation. And in addition to the details of this poor kid who got so terribly injured, a witness came forward and said that it looked to her like the Andrewses were just sort of yelling at each other and not getting down and helping the kid. And she said she put a towel under his head because the burning hot asphalt was very uncomfortable. She put an umbrella over him to shield him. There's some really, really sad, awful imagery here. So, but unfortunately, I don't think it is going to do Daniel Andrews the damage that he deserves to have done this election, simply because what's the alternative? Matthew Guy? I mean, please.